I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like certain people, quote unquote, they just don't seem human. If that makes any sense. Let me explain a little better. Have you ever been around certain people that it's just you can just tell that they're NPCs and like there's nothing really beyond their mind. Like you can just look in their eyes and tell that their eyes are soulless. There's no substance to them. They follow the crowds. They look like they were just created just to be like extra place fillers. And I know a lot of us in this position feel that way, but hell, a lot of us it seems like we're the main character, because all bad shit is always happening to us. So I wonder, are these beings created by the archons and they're made to look like humans, and every now and then they glitch because there's been times, like I'll say about like a week ago, I was walking from this place or whatever, and it was at nighttime, like around 9:30, and I seen like this older woman or whatever, like like kind of walking my way or whatever, and it was crazy because at first when I was looking that way, I had my earphones in though, but then when I seen her, I immediately take it out. Like when I see people, my earphones usually, I usually have it on low or whatever, but I usually, when I see people, I take one out just so I can hear even more clear, but I'm usually on point. But when I passed by this lady, I felt like this weird negative vibe energy. It just felt weird. And then like, I remember just kind of kept looking over my shoulder, just watching, like it's gonna turn to like a Resident Evil event. Like that's the feeling that I got, right? And then I kind of remember as I was like, like I looked back as I got farther, I remember her kind of turning her head, but it was like I couldn't really tell. Like from the distance, it seemed like she turned her head like almost all the way around and then turned it back. It looked creepy. Like maybe it was just late at night or whatever. Maybe I was just sleepy, but it seemed like some creepy shit, you know? And there's been times where it's like certain people, like the way they act, and it's always like sometimes it's like in strange places too, I notice, and but it can't happen in a day because because you run into strange people, like you run into NPCs every day. But then there's NPCs and there's like other things. Like there's NPCs are just regular, you know, just the normies, the NPCs, right? Like the soulless normie, But these beings are something else. It's like they have a mission or an agenda. It's like they're spying on you or they're monitoring you. Some people may call them monitoring spirits, but it seems like there's certain entities that can look like humans, and it seems like some of them were meant to cause problems in your life, you know. Some of them were meant to like randomly you go to a random place and people randomly get rude with you. Like, why was that person just randomly mad at me? For all we know, it could be some type of thing that's just just there to cause havoc. What's that movie called? Where it talks about Obey, and that guy puts on those glasses, and he's able to see like he's able to see people that are like regular humans, and he's able to see like the reptilian bloodline people, like the people that are like shapeshifters. Like, what's that movie called, man? I think you guys know what I'm talking about. And like everywhere he looks, it says obey, 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 and he sees like these lizards. He sees some people look like normal people, and the other people he's like when he puts the glasses on, he sees other people that look like aliens. But you wouldn't know that unless you have the certain eye to see. I think it's why they calcify our pineal gland as well, because the pineal gland is like the third eye. And we know that toothpaste and a lot of the water that we drink, it calcifies the pineal gland because they don't want a mass spiritual awakening. I don't know, man. I just been thinking about it. It's because certain people, they act more like demons than people, you know? And certain people, like, you tell them the truth about what's going on, you can show them evidence in their own life and they still won't believe it. They'll think it's just, coincidence. And it's like, really? Coincidence? Like, do you see how this world is built? Like, it's like deliberate. It's like deliberately designed to make sure you lose your mind. You have to earn money. That's mandatory. You need money to survive. You need money for anything and everything. And there are systems that are in place that determine how much money you can make, how much hours you can work, and all of that. But then there's people out there that are able to make millions of dollars doing what they love. So the system is really unfair, and it's not really built for everybody's sustainability and viability, which is unfortunate. But that's just the way this world is, right? But it's just if you look at the actions over humanity, you know, humans have been around for thousands of years. Yet, even though like we call ourselves an advanced society and advanced civilization, warfare is still part of our common life. You can go on YouTube right now. You can watch Ukraine, footage. You can watch drone footage from Russia. You can watch it, and it shows you on YouTube. I don't know how. I guess that's in YouTube's guidelines, but it shows it, and you can watch real life battle. You can watch people like just engage in modern warfare, and it's crazy. And it's like, who's really controlling this world where humans have never been able to get along? And yes, I know people say humans are tribal, but why are humans tribal? Who decided to make different variations of humans in order for them to be tribal in the first place? Right? It's like that's programmed into people. It's programmed, and it's like it's no, and it's like, why is that programmed? You know, it's like some being off the bat wanted us to be combative with each other and not be able to focus. You know, one of the most interesting stories that talks about, alien interruption or interdimensional being interruption is the Tower of Babel. When humans actually got together and started to build something and started to not war with each other and tried to build something good, and they got too advanced and started learning too much knowledge, and all of a sudden this being comes from another dimension, this alien or this god, whatever you want to call it, and he pretty much stops people from creating. And he says, if they put their minds together and they're able to do this, there's nothing that they won't be able to do. Like these humans will be able to do anything if they put their minds together, if they all speak one language. So this God purposely broke up the languages. It's the Tower of Babel story in the Bible. That's crazy. So what are we really if this God of the Bible is kind of scared of us? If he knows that if we put our mind to it, if we use our divine spark inside of us, that we can do anything. So this God knows what he has in his hands. That's why he locks us in. That's why he looses us. That's why he makes our lives difficult. You know? That's why our lives just feel like, it's the way it is. An eternal nightmare, and it's brutal. Right? But I think some people, like, have you ever noticed like certain people in school, like, have you ever seen the teacher's pet and people like that? And it's like, these people like they don't just they don't act normal. They act like just like some stooges or something like that. They just act weird. And I wonder, are these people just beings put there, and they're meant to just cause distractions? They're meant to just cause evil. And could they also be in your family? Because you have people in your own family that could be some crazy type of beings. It's just food for thought. I don't want to make anybody paranoid, but I'm just saying, like, as real as this reality is and how evil this reality is, I wouldn't be surprised if you got people in your own family that are some form of demons, even if they know it or not. Like, they're being used by the demonic side, or they are the demonic side. And you gotta put up with that, and you notice that they're always picking at you, always attacking you, always blaming you, and always making sure that you fit a certain place, or you fit a certain standard. It's weird, man. It's honestly weird how this world is and how this world functions, because a true loving, caring world that people dream of, and they always talk about this utopia with everybody getting along and all that. First of all, it wouldn't have these systems that make people feel worthless. It wouldn't have these systems that make people feel like if they don't meet certain milestones in life by a certain age, that all of a sudden they feel like they're not valuable to anyone anymore. That breaks people's confidence when somebody feels like they get 30 years old and they feel like that's really old. It shouldn't feel or be that way, but because of how society is built, and how society really worships youth. If you ever notice that, like all the ads and all the things, usually the advertisements are for the youth, because the youth are the ones that are, the ones that have to be influenced and are easily influenced. People that are older, we're already set in our ways. We already know the truth. We know the video games aren't as good as they used to be. We know that no way in hell Grand Theft Auto 6 should cost $100 and you don't even get a disc. Nah, hell no. Come on. And speaking of that, I still got to finish part 5, and Red Dead Redemption part 2. Those are 2 games I got to finish. But yeah, I don't know, bro. Like, have you ever seen like certain people in life that were just weird towards you, that had like a negative vibe or a negative energy, and you just felt it, and it's like, yeah, is this some type of like, was this person placed here strategically by the demiurge in order to like spy on me, to attack me, to make sure that I don't reach my full potential, to make sure that I'm not comfortable enough to start working on a novel and start doing things like that because I'm always under pressure. I'm always under siege. Like have you guys ever got those thoughts, or you ever got thoughts of like you're walking somewhere and you just know like a certain crowd of people you kind of try to avoid because it can lead to confrontation, right? Like it's just like, okay, when you see a bunch of like when you see like 7 or 10 like young kids, or they look kind of shady, you don't want to go around them because that could potentially cause a problem. Like when you get older, you start to just you want less bullshit. It's not being scared, it's not running, it's being smart, right? It's like preemptively trying to avoid fights before they occur, because there's no point trying to fight when you already know it's just going to lead to somebody going to prison, getting hurt, or being neutralized, and you're going to be the one ultimately to pay for it. So it's the best way to try to avoid it, and only do confrontation when you have no absolute choice but to confront what you need to confront. When somebody's threatening you, whatever, then of course. But other than that, don't go trying to look for things, and if you can avoid something, avoid it. If you see a bunch of shady looking people and you're walking, it's best just to walk around them or get out there, a line of sight, and just mind your business and keep your wits about you, right? Because certain people, they give off vibes, and it feels uncanny and it feels inhuman. It doesn't feel right. It feels like they're very demonic, right? So I wonder how many of these beings are around us every single day, and how they navigate the world unseen and nobody even notices. You know, this form that we're in, this blood and this flesh, this meat suit, as some people call it, this level of consciousness, it feels so limiting. You know how they say, dogs can smell better than humans. They say eagles have better eyesight than humans from far away or whatever. And they say certain dolphins, and dolphins use echolocation, I believe. And I think bats use echolocation too, right? Like, what do dolphins use? I think it's echolocation, but dolphins, because dolphins are actually pretty smart. Like dolphins, they have like their own like different types of languages, their own types of cultures. Like dolphins are really, really intelligent, but they have these skills and subsets that humans don't have. They have certain attributes that humans don't have, And I feel like in this form of flesh, there's so many things that we're limited to. Once you eat, you're going to get hungry again. Once you drink, you're going to get thirsty again. Once you watch adult explicit material, you're going to want to watch it again. And it's never a satisfaction. There's a limited satisfaction. There's a little hibernation period where, you're cool, you got your needs met, kinda, because your real needs come from having a real good woman in your life, right? And having a good life, and having a lot of money coming in and being successful, right? That's good for your mental for real. But, you're getting your needs met the best way you can. And when you start to compare your life to somebody that's successful traditionally, excuse me, with somebody that's traditionally successful, and you look at your life and you look at your age, and then you notice people around your age range or a little older, maybe even younger, and they have their life more together than you start to just be like, damn, you know, you start to wonder about the things you did wrong. You start to wonder about the psychological issues you faced. You start to wonder about how you could have changed things, how you could have done things more differently. Maybe maybe you should have tried to snap out that depression. But it was like at the time, man, you was depressed. You was going through it. You was miserable. You was by yourself going through this hell, going through this pain. Your mind was chained down. No confidence, no accomplishments, no way of getting any type of girl, no way of getting type of love. That plays into your abilities, man. I don't care what anybody says. Not having a woman in your life and never having it and never going on a date, that can ruin your confidence. Ruined. Because how can you be confident in a world where there's guys out there that are getting all types of experiences left and right? And sometimes I think some of these people that get blessed and get in these positions, I don't know if they're even human either. Like some of these people, I think they're just put there because, remember, the God of the Bible said his name was jealousy, and that I am that I am. And he said he's a jealous God. And why? And since his God feeds off a negative energetic manifestational frequency, why would he not create like beings that he made with artificial souls that he made, and then give them all the blessings of the earth, and then real souls like us, we see it, and then he wants to make us envious because these people have a good life, they have an easy life, they get everything they want, and this God is just doing that to manipulate our negative energy from us to get the loosh. And really, those people are not even real souls like us. Like I think about things like that. Whenever I see these rich people, whenever I see these streamers, I won't be saying any names, but these big streamers, I wonder what they really are, because to be that big on streaming, the platform has to help you out. It's not like you just bring like yeah, there's some organic stuff, but come on, be on the level these guys are in. The platform's definitely getting millions too, so they're gonna make sure they're gonna prioritize their money. That's they're gonna prioritize their business asset that appreciates in value, especially something that appreciates that fast as that streaming stuff does. And one thing I noticed too is that even in ancient times, they talked about beings coming from different dimensions that were kind of like leading mankind and ruling over mankind. And there's like this advanced technology and these advanced technological civilizations like Atlantis or Lemuria or Hyperborea and all these other type of places. And now they're just mysteriously gone, and a lot of secret societies and a lot of secret occults talk about these places and how to get into doorways and gate and like interdimensional portals that lead to these places. But how can you prove that in real life without going missing? How can you prove that? How can you prove the existence of an interdimensional portal and show the world that, right? That's something that that they'll keep a lid on, keep a wraps on, and never let be even known, like teleportation or something like that, right? It'll be a hidden secret. It'll be a secret marvel that only the elite few would know, and everything else the public wouldn't know anything but what they need to know in order to, you know, keep the society afloat. I truly do believe, though, there are different dimensions and there are all different types of beings and different types of alien species, like kind of like Mass Effect. Like, if you guys ever played Mass Effect, you got the Asari, the Krogan, who else? What's Garrus? I forgot, but Garrus, him and their planet. I forgot their names. Those aliens with the mask on their face. Forgot about them. I forgot their names. But they got that fleet, like that space fleet or whatever. But yeah, I imagine something like the Citadel from Mass Effect. I imagine something like that, like existing somewhere where it's like you have humans, kind of like Star Wars, where you have humans and aliens kind of like working together in certain like weapons projects or certain things like that. But I think on this dimension, it's like kept secret for a reason. I think because we're divine sparks or whatever, we may react differently to these beings if we see it. Like, who knows? Like, because like, remember, y'all doesn't know our full capabilities either. Remember, that's why he keeps us under lock and wraps. That's why he looshes us, because he doesn't know if this God didn't loose us and produce negative energetic manifestation or frequency. Who knows what we can produce? Who knows what we can build with our infinite energy and our vastness of our eternal light and our divinity? Who knows? We can surpass this God in seconds, which is why he always keeps our mind occupied on minuscule worldly tasks and material tasks that never last. Think about ancient Rome. I think about one time, Rome was thriving. Rome was the number one empire in the world. The Roman Empire was vast. It was big. The greatest military in history. All of that. Wealthy, powerful. And at one time, its money was worth something. Its glory was worth something. Its victories were worth something. But now, the glories of Rome was just, it's all known in history books. It's all in the past. Everybody that lived will never even know their names or see their faces. Right? And this is something interesting I was thinking. I have like a little theory. I think that some of us, we actually like had past lives. So some of us probably, we were like ancient Rome or ancient like different places, right? But we had so many lifetimes since then, all the way till now. And every time we pass away, we get mind wiped, we get memory wiped. and we get thrown back into this. That's why some of us, we have a natural inclination or propensity to certain time periods in history, because maybe maybe our soul remembers something that was earned, that's something there, and then it produced a lot of loosh. Whether we lost somebody on the battlefield, whether something must have happened. But the demiurge, all the boss, mind wipes us, memory erases us, but our soul remembers somehow pieces of the puzzle. And I think a lot of people who were born back then, either they all like all of us, are everybody alive right now was probably alive 1,000 years ago, but in different types of bodies and different types of areas. But now we're alive again in this time period. I don't know. That's just me thinking out loud. I'm not saying that's true. I'm not saying that's true or anything, and not at all. It's probably not even true at all. People probably, But I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. That'll be interesting, wouldn't it? I don't know, man. I just like when you think about the world, you really gotta like. It's like, are we really meant to suffer? And that's it. Are we not meant to enjoy this life? Are we not meant to be happy? Are we not meant to be free? Are we not meant to have our spirits held up? Because this world seems like it doesn't want us to do that, or at least not for very long. If you notice, this world is always trying to drag you into a negative, energetic situation, a negative event. Either there's people, there's places, there's things, there's, maybe you're sick, maybe, like I'm just now kind of getting over a cold, kind of recovering, and it was horrible. It was absolutely horrendous. Like these sicknesses are getting worse every year. And I think that's done deliberately. It's done on purpose. And it's just going to keep on getting worse, as the years go on and as time keeps on flourishing. We're going to see an exceptional amount of people start dropping out of society. You're going to see a lot more needs. You're going to see a lot more people homeless. You're going to see a lot more people making channels like these, talking about the exact same thing I'm talking about right now, or like talking about, the things that I talked about before. You're going to see a lot more of these channels pop up, a lot more. And you're going to see a lot more interesting people. And you'll be like, damn, how did this person not make it? Like, what the heck, And it's going to proliferate. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get more wider, because the real is only going to recognize the real, man. And real ain't got to prove itself to anything fake. If you're fake, real ain't got to prove anything to you. And we don't owe you anything. If you're a fake person, an evil person, real people ain't got to prove anything to fake people. Real recognize real, and that's what it is. Simple as that. But how many events in your life seem orchestrated? It seemed like the strings were pulled and things were manipulated to make you feel a certain way, to make you produce a certain energy that produces a certain frequency that these beings feed off of. I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you really think about it, it makes sense. When you first hear it, yeah, right. But then when you look at things that happen in your life, you're like, damn, why did that happen? Dude, why did that happen? Why these bad things keep happening? It's because there's something that's trying to feed off you, because you are a divine spark. You are not from this world. You are a God. And it's not blasphemy. It's the truth. It's why you're being held back. You come from the pleroma. You're a piece and a fragment of the goddess, or the Aeon Sophia. She made Yaldabaoth the god of the Bible by mistake. He knows that your divine light is more holier than him. So he tries to hold you back and use you as a battery source to power up his universes. He has an entire universe or universes. He can create entire planets, entire dimensions, entire domains, entire hells. He can create because he has the power of the Aeon, his mother Sophia. But he is not the true God. He's a prison warden for our souls. And he purposely makes life hard for us so we can keep on producing loosh. This is a loosh farm. He wants us to keep producing negative energetic manifestational frequency for his benefit. And that's why life is hard. Life is not hard because it has to be, or it's trying to teach you some great lesson. That's a great lie. There's no lesson to be learned in agony. There's no lesson to be learned in pain. Plenty of people that graduated from Harvard and became millionaires, they didn't go through anything painful besides joining secret societies behind the scenes, but that's neither here or there. And they're still successful. And then there's people that went through a lot of hell in life and they're still not successful because the pain was too traumatic. The pain was too brutal. So they had to know that their mind got broke, man. Like people don't really think about the things you go through when you're coming up, when you're younger. That has a major effect on your psychology. It has a major effect on your life decisions and the path you go in life. And when you don't have any examples around you that are really successful, like somebody who's an entrepreneur, they got their own business, they have their own house, like they're doing very well financially, and they're willing to help you out, have you work for them, give you a hand, give you tips, give you pointers, just to point you in the right direction. When you don't have nobody who's successful that's trying to help you in the right direction, it's like you're swimming in the ocean in the middle of a storm and you're trying to find land rather than somebody who has like a lifeboat next to them with the lights on, or one of those rescue helicopters, and they climb the ladder and then they get flown to safety. Meanwhile, you remain in the ocean when the storm's raging, and then like they turn the lights off on you and go back to shore, and you're just in a pitch black ocean by yourself with thunderstorms and waves coming in, and you got to survive that, right? That's what this life feels like, man. It's like a turbulent, evil, shallow ocean. It's an abyssal ocean. It's miserable. This existence, it's really made to make you feel like you're nothing. That's the best way I can put it. I mean, if you don't believe me, look at the humiliation ritual that we call job hunting or job interviews. You know, right? Look at people when you go to the 9 to 5. Everybody's wearing a mask. Everybody's being fake for the most part. But they still have time to joke on people's skin color configurations, right? It's odd, how you can be in a world that's just trapped with so much evil, trapped with so much nonsense, trapped with a variety and a myriad of talentless hacks, you know, who think they're better than you, you know, and they haven't been through what you've been through. They haven't walked in your shoes. They haven't experienced your pain. So how can they judge your brain? How can they talk about you if they never walked a day in your shoes? You know, we all got to stay strong, even though it's hard. I thought the year 2026, a long time ago, I thought we would have flying cars. I thought that, we would have like spaceships and all types of things. But even if we had those and they're classified, we'll never get to see them. It'll probably be another 250 years before they show people a spaceship, like a real one. Yeah, I'm not talking about one of those little ships. I'm talking about a real, something that you'll see in Star Wars, right? It'll be a long time before that. One of my dreams is to be a Starfleet commander. That was always one of my dreams, to be like a fleet admiral, like commanding like starships and going into battle over these alien planets. And, you know, what's that one Call of Duty? Actually, everybody didn't like that Call of Duty when it came out because everybody was tired of the robots and the double jumps and all that. But it was actually a good Call of Duty. I think it was Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. I think I may play that actually because that was a good game. But that campaign is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like, to me, that's one of the top Call of Duty campaigns. And then they make called World War II, which is, not sufficient to say the least, but neither is Vanguard. Like, they don't make the World War II games like kind of how they used to make good World War II games, like back in the days, man. Like, gaming, I don't know, man. Everything just seems to be deteriorating. And if you notice something like the Archons, they control everything. The media, gaming, it's the reason why they keep remaking the same things. They never make original intellectual properties anymore. None of these gaming companies have IPs anymore. They don't have intellectual properties. We already have Halo. Now they're making a Halo campaign. It's not even called Combat Evolved. It's called Camp. Like, you can, like, they're already modernizing Halo. Like, I'm not going to play that new Halo. It sucks. I already got the old Halos. I love the old Halos. You kidding me? Those old Halos were made by passionate people that cared about their video games. They cared about their product they were selling. They put their heart and souls into it, and it reflected in the video game. These new modern games is filled with politics, and it's filled with things that I don't want in my video games. When I play a video game, I play a video game to escape reality. because the reality that I live in is so horrible and horrendous. So I play video games to escape reality. I watch anime to escape reality. I don't play video games to be reminded of the evils of reality. So video game companies need to get it together, man. Or you know what? I'm gonna start my own video game company. Akira Sonoi Productions.